And examples of that would be stuff like their fuel prices have increased rapidly since before Christmas. The price of construction materials, steel, timber, cement, plaster, everything else that we can talk about. And it's got to the stage that it's impossible for anybody to start off now to try and build a house. It's going to be virtually impossible to own a house in this country very shortly. And if we look at the taxes that we're already paying, the universal social charge was brought in 2011 and was supposed to be there until 2016. And there's no political will in this country to remove that tax. None. And I strongly disagree with that. That was the disposable income that people used to have. The government took it imposed that tax for 5 years, and now have decided that it's going to be kept. It's going to be theirs rather than giving it back to the people who have it. We also had a sugar tax that was imposed on people on through the drinks industry. And, you know, when we look at it, it's just tax after tax after tax after tax on top of people. And I honestly don't think that people are able to stick it anymore. And with the situation that we're in out there with MICA, I think we're sending the wrong message out by increasing the local property taxes. And I do agree with the speakers that spoke before me about that. And look, I could talk for a long time about it. A lot of what I'm thinking has already been said, but I just want to put it on the record that I'm not in a position to be able to support any increase in local property taxes. So thank you, Mr. Chairman, for your time.
Thank you, Cllr Bride. Now, Cllr Bryce Sweeney.
Thank you, Cahirlock. And again, thanks to Richard and John for the presentations earlier on. Firstly, I'd like to say that I am very happy that in relation to the amnesty for people affected by MICA for the next 6 years. And there are concerns raised by a few previous speakers there in relation to the scheme or the amnesty being up and running in time. I believe it should be backdated at least until this point in time when the local property tax, they would not be affected by it this year if their houses have been deemed to be MICA, contain MICA. I'm also very happy to see the amount of progress in this county over the last number of years, progress in our towns and villages, and projects in relation to regeneration in a lot of the strategic towns and many other areas around the county. We need to progress, and we all want that progress. We all want it to happen, and we all have to do a wee bit, I believe, to make that happen. I'd also like to acknowledge the amount of support there has been from central government throughout the COVID crisis to individuals who may have received payments after sadly losing their jobs or their jobs being affected temporarily. I'd like to acknowledge the amount of support there has been, the millions and millions of support there has been for businesses in the area and to keep the ship afloat and to keep everything going. And now we find ourselves in an area where thankfully there is money within the economy to spend, to go on our holidays locally, to spend that money locally. And we need to build on the amount of people that are coming to Donegal, and we need to build on the facilities that there are to offer them and to make their stay memorable and get them to come back again and again into the future. We need to think long term of what we're doing here. And yes, you know what? I've spoken to many people who are opposed to LPT. We heard a lot of it today in the meeting too. There are people unhappy about it, and it's not popular. It's not a popular decision to be making today. But I also speak to a lot of people who are very happy to pay their LPT, and that, you know, the headlines tomorrow or this afternoon, or maybe as we speak online, are about the negative side of probably the people opposed to LPT. But there's a lot of people out there who are quite happy to pay their way and contribute to it. And perhaps not everybody can afford the LPT. And I'd like to acknowledge that too for the vast majority of people within this county, I would like to get up-to-date figures after the change within the bands. You know, up to this point in time, Richard Gibson just mentioned that 51.5% of people were in band 1. That's last time round, if your property was valued up to 100,000. That band 1 has been extended to 200,000. We know that property prices have increased by approximately 80% in those years. And so if your property is now worth 200,000, you're still in band 1. Now, just without trying to be too confusing on this, just say you were in band 2 last year and your property was valued at 120,000, but now in Donegal your property might be valued at 190,000. You'll actually drop down from band 2 to band 1, so your property tax will be reduced. And I would like to get the figures on how many properties will be actually reducing, so your local property tax within Donegal will be reducing down. Regardless, if we take property or band 1 and 2, it's in the effect of 85% of properties within Donegal town will be within those two bands. And that's band 1. You know, what we're talking about here is an increase. The other point is like that we're not voting today on whether there is a local property tax or whether there's not a local property tax. We're obviously voting on the increase or the decrease in this tax. If we remain the same as per last year, the difference in band 1 for so many people, at least 51.5% of people, is the 25 cent, which we have been paying for the last year as well. So that 25 cent per week is the difference. And I think, you know, for most people, it's a small price to pay for the progress and the development that we need within this county. Band 2, it's about 70 cent per week, I believe. You know, in the grand scheme of things, what is 70 cent? Or even if you're in band 3, what is 91 cent per week in relation to your weekly spend and what you might get for 91 cent? You don't get much. But combined, you get a lot. And you get a lot through this council for what we are providing and what we are working on into the future. I believe we need to protect that small sacrifice by the citizens of this county to make our county a better place. So I'd like to agree with some of the previous speakers in terms of retaining this local property tax at the rate that it has been for the last couple of years. Thank you very much, Peter.
Okay, thank you, Brian. That's the last. Oh, sorry, Patrick McGowan's indicated. Sorry, Mr. Patrick McGowan.
Sorry, Chair, just playing up a wee bit today, so I know. No, listen, I'm looking for a wee bit of more information here because generally after these meetings, there was a lot of things put up on social media by members here and by others, and the bottom line, most of the constituents asked me, what are we getting? You know, and by that I mean what their area is getting. There's also a lot of other arguments that we don't need to put it up. Now, I heard what John and Richard said, but obviously, and I presume all the councillors here were all in that. We all want to see the county benefit, and I've heard what some independents and Sinn Féin have said, but and I would agree, it would be great if we could do away with this altogether. But the problem is, if we don't leave this the same as last year, which I would support, is leaving it the same as last year, we seem to kind of just rushed over the consequences of that. Richard attempted to do it. I think John mentioned that there's more information out there and that's broken down by MD, but I would like to have that now. I would like to go through each project and how it is. Now, I understand, like, for example, we have motions every week. Well, looking through today, we'll have motions about doing this, that and other from piers and harbours, road safety, road crossings, playgrounds and that. What was the last meeting? They had, everybody in this council supported effectively giving more money to Fun Harps. I would like John and Richard and their post. I don't think we should rush that. I would like to see all of these projects, the projects in my area that are starting, the flooding projects, in Ballyfane, Castlefin, Lifford. There's a lot of talk here about. We had Donegal East Tourism recently there. There's quite a lot of talk about our castles in the Foe, castles down below Lifford, the O'Donnell Castle. There's also talk about the Stone Circle. You could just go on and on. We're doing there's consultation going on at the moment in Garden Drumbo Woods. The council, I think, I don't know if actually have paid for it or not, have taken over to buy the land at Drumbo. Also projects there to do it up. There's one small playground there in Stonarder, and it was always indicated and promised from the council that there would be a bigger one in Ballyfane because large populated area. A lot of the playgrounds that are there in Kilgarden, Castlefin, Convent, that all need maintenance. We have the pound in Stonarder. I'm been asked by residents that should be taken in charge. That they should be maintenance. It's one thing to take it in charge, but it's to apply staff and look after all of these. Then we have all these other projects that has been outlined as today, quite a few million, and that's going to take quite a bit out of our existing budget. Now, I would love if the government would tomorrow morning change and say, that's fine, we're doing away with property tax. But what I'd like to know for the people here in Donegal, like if we don't keep it the same as this year and last year and the year before, what is the actual consequence? Now, I did hear you saying, and I got a brief, as Frank or someone said this morning there, we got that information a bit late. We have been asking from it last year and the year before, because the people out there, the constituents, we do want to know. Nobody really wants to pay tax. Most people realize they have to pay it. Certainly nobody wants to pay more than you have to do it, no more than we want to pay for petrol, insurance or anything else. And we do want to know that we're getting value for money. We do want to know that this kind of council, and including all the members, that we're doing the best we can with this money. We're getting value for money. We're not throwing money around us. We're not wasting money. And I think over my number of years in the council, I do think things have improved in relation. There's probably a lot less money around now, but I think staff and that's doing quite a good job with the money they are getting. But the one thing is, I wouldn't like to see Donegal doing less well than other counties. The fact that we don't keep the property taxes as the same. I know somebody outlined exactly what it means per week and per year. Also, one of the councillors called it a progressive tax, and I think that's probably right as well, that we don't charge it on our local authority houses. That was the decision of this county council here, not to increase the rent in the local, all the county council houses. So effectively, they're not paying towards that property tax, and obviously then the house then is valued. It's charged according to the value, and I suppose the big figure is that equalisation fund. Like, think that we're getting, it's probably the only tax that I know of, road tax and everything else, is collected in this county. It's sent to Dublin and it's doubled and then sent back down again. I'd rather, if we're going to do away with tax, I'd rather see us doing away with a lot of other taxes, because I don't know where the money from the car tax goes. Now, there's a lot of other taxes that are collected in this county, and we often feel that we're left behind. But in fairness, I suppose maybe that's where where these multi-million-pound grants is going to Kellybegs, Ballyfane, Buncrana, Letterkenny, and a lot of other towns as well. Maybe that's where a lot of that's coming out of it. Some is EU funded, and that's right. But rather than looking this through, and I think the public have a right to know out there where this money's going, John and Richard. We spent a couple of minutes here. We're many hours away on now, and this is probably one of the biggest items coming on. And we spent 10 or 15 minutes telling people where the money is going to go. And that's when I meet someone in the street. That's the kind of question to ask. And we don't see it, or what happens to it, or the rest of it. And I see a lot of members who have indicated so far saying that they they will be opposing it today. They won't be supporting it today, but none of them have indicated, and obviously they have asked questions of Richard and John as well, just to say where the money's going to come out of, or if and it's realistically that we're going to make a stand against the government. That's fine. Where is which projects? I would like to know today which projects are going to be cut. Spellfail or Kenny, whatever. I presume that if we don't increase it, that all these other motions that are going on here today and the last couple of meetings, they'll be the first to go anyway, I presume. So look, as I say, I would like, before any decisions made today, and Chairperson, I would ask you for the same leniency this morning as other members got, that we take our time and that you give us the detail. It's all in the detail. And ask John and Richard, even if they stop the meeting, come back and give us village by village and town by town, and also what money is used to match other funding, like for grants or anything else to people out there, because it can't all come from the businesses. And I've heard that mentioned this morning. There's a number of references to commercial rates for businesses, and by God, they're struggling. And over the years, they have struggled and carried it a long way. And I would like to get more details. So thanks very much. And I would like to be able to come back in later on when we get some answers through the chair. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Conaghan. I know it indicated to me that Ian was indicating speaking, Councillor McGarvey, and then I have Councillor Cllr Brogan texting me as well. So let those two in, and I'll go back to the executive. That's all that's been indicated. So I can't let people back in. They've already made a contribution, though, unless there was some point of order.
Chairman,
through the chair. I wish to.
Members have been on 2 or 3 times this morning, like, so that's finished.
That's what. Have you finished your contribution?
No. I said that I will want to come back in when I get the answers for the. I have asked specifically. I want to know what projects are going to be cut. What likely. I want this thing discussed properly, not rushed over. So, like, whenever we get the answers, I would like to come back in. Thanks.
Just to be clear,
through the chair,
all the members that are spoken, that are already spoken. I'm not letting anybody back in.
Through the chair, I have a point of order. Concerning the legislation that's been passed.
Out and all morning like a yo-yo. Is he the only one that's done?
Folks, I'm not letting anybody else in. Councillor Ian McGarvey and Councillor Cllr Brogan have indicated, and that's who I'm taking in now. Councillor McGarvey, you're on mute, Ian.
I shouldn't be on mute if it says I'm muted.
Yeah, you're okay now.
I'm okay now. Listen, just want to say one thing. I'm trying for a long time to get on, but it's no problem whatsoever. I actually would be in favour of us as a local authority providing the services for the people that we represent, number one. That will not be done without money. Now, I welcome the fact that it's proposed in basic years where there be no LPT collected from the mega people. Now, we can all jump up and down about what we can do and so on, but the one thing certain, sure, I, like many others, have been around the fact that certain projects in the area wasn't going to be done, namely the regeneration, namely other functions and so on that county councils perform throughout the county to numerous dimensions. And the other thing I welcome as well, the fact that there is flexibility for people who have difficulty. And everybody knows at the present time, and everybody is talking about one thing, about the cost is going up and the cost is going up. It has never stopped going up during my day. Never was otherwise. But I would hope that other payments and other things would keep pace with what's happening as well and be recognised. Now, everybody knows, anybody who has MICA, they have like a millstone around their neck because it's affected by 2 things. Number one, no matter what redress is got or anything else, that property will be nearly unsaleable. And it will be identified as a mega house. And the business will be the same. So we're dealing with an immense task of like dealing with it. Now, the other thing I want to say to the members as well, we are the members and we are the people who take decisions. And what I was going to say in that is this, all municipal districts can borrow without prior consent from anybody, even monies if it were desirable to assist in the local area as well. So we as a council, as far as I'm concerned, we're there with the public interest, number one, but we're also there in caring for the needs of the people. I'm not going to go on and on and I'm going to call you Mayor, Jack, and I would confer you as Mayor today because I'll tell you why. You got some baptism straight away coming in, and have sympathy with what abuse you might take in some cases. But I'll say one thing certain sure. Transparency, as referred to earlier by a councillor, I'm not going to name any individual councillor because they all make contributions here. That will say transparency always is to me is of importance, and that we treat people equally, and we treat projects equally, and we assist people where we can. Because nobody ever mentioned their items and they're like second-grade citizens as far as I'm concerned, and I will continuously support any council that takes into consideration their needs as well as the mainland. So I'll call you Mayor if you don't mind, because I believe it will be more beneficial as a representative of the people of Donegal to be classed as Mayor. I think maybe I was the last, maybe I was fortunate or whatever. But the one thing certain sure, I think up to the members as well, but I would seek information on that. And as well as that, to Richard and the Chief Executive for the presentation. Exceptionally good. And I sat with Richard and them on the Value for Money Committee and on the other committee, and I know the difficulties that they face. So we need all to have regard. They're only part of the whole administrative system. They will always be, I would think, independent, do their best and so on. And as I say, going forward, I would welcome the opportunity to consider them with other members. And thanks for the birthday wishes early on too, because I don't even feel what you talk about, but whatever. So Mayor, with that, I'll leave it with that. And if anybody has any objections, you can tell me. But I think going anywhere, going abroad or going anywhere else, that's more representative and more a greater status for the individual as well. Thanks very much too.
Okay, thanks. The last person I've indicated who hasn't spoken yet is Councillor Cllr Tom, and then we'll be taking the response from the executive. Councillor Rowan.
Thank you, Cllr. Seemed to be some difficulty with cutting it out this morning, so you can bear with us. First of all, I want to thank Richard for the presentation. I think, in fairness, I want to acknowledge the huge amount of work that Richard Gibson has done over the last 18 months, himself and his team, and what has been, I suppose, the most challenging time in finance in Donegal County Council in our history because of the COVID pandemic. And I want to acknowledge the huge amount of efforts made by him and his team in the business supports, and acknowledge the huge support that we've got in this area over the last number of years. I suppose at the start of this council, when we sat down, we described it at the time as a leap of faith to go forward for the 5-year programme. And we had a lot of capital projects and a lot of ambitious plans for the council, for the lifetime of the council. And the challenge that we had during that time was trying to attract the capital funding for projects like the Greencastle Pier that was talked about for the last 12 years. We've seen the recent funding for like Greencastle, we've seen it for Dunree, we've seen the regeneration projects and huge commitment by the team in that area to the URDF in Letterkenny here, project of 18 million. Ballabafay to Northern is 9 million, Carndon is 9 million. But there's many different projects that are of huge benefit to the community. The Muckish Railway Walk, the 500,000 was allocated for that. The Barton Port Iron Moor project as well. The funding ongoing works in areas, regeneration areas like Bermelton and Rathmullen. I think huge amount of work undertaken by this council. The most ever I've seen in my time in public life, and I think we have to acknowledge a huge commitment by the management and the staff. And it's important that we're seen to be innovative and supportive to the team going forward. I suppose there's only one challenge that I find that will be. Things will change with COVID. We all know that. And I think as a council, we've been somewhat ahead of the game in this whole area. And I want to acknowledge the digital hubs in areas like Buncrana, Carrigart, Gweedore. There's much more happening in this area as well, where the opportunities for people will change. And I think there is huge opportunities for Donegal in this whole area. And we've been very innovative in the whole area of tourism as well, and that has to be acknowledged. And we've seen last year with the biggest numbers of its ever in our history in Donegal as visitors from people who maybe never came this way ever before. And it looks like that we're seeing the same experience this year again. And this council has to be commended for the huge efforts they've made in this area. I mean, in the last year, we've seen an extra 500,000 going in, 100 to each MD for the small tourism grants as well. That was very, very proactively sought by the elected members, and I want to acknowledge the team in the council that has worked on this, because that's us investing in our own county, investing in our own people, and that's job creation as well. And I think this is where we have to be in the space we are going forward as a council. But the concern I would have, and acknowledge all the work's going on, is that we're now requiring 45 million of co-funding for a total of investment of 172 million. 172 million is a massive amount of money. We also have the 10T project ongoing as well. So I don't think we've ever had as many capital projects going on or been funded as much in Donegal as we have now. And I suppose the question I have for Richard, our Chief Executive, is what happens if we get to a stage where we need to borrow again, we need to invest, because we can't stop applying for capital funds. There are many projects in many different areas that members are pushing for, and we need to get government funding. And is there a concern on the part of the executive as what we'll do or how we will address that going forward? Because this is just year 3 of this council, and I think it's important where there is opportunities that we are innovative as a council and making sure that we get as much money into Donegal to create the jobs opportunities and support the businesses that's in the area going forward, while at the same time creating the huge tourism area that's there as well. So that's all for now, Cllr, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Councillor Rogan. In the meantime there, Councillor Bernard McGuinness will indicate he wants to speak, so I'll let Bernard up.
Chair, thank you very much. This meeting takes place every year, and we have to decide whether we go back to this or increase by 15%. And that has been explained by Richard and there to us about the effects that have on the funding. First of all, I want to thank Richard and his staff for the tremendous work that he has done and the staff have done in finance over the last number of years, in reducing our what was unmanageable loan. And we all as a council decided that we had to reduce it as best we can. It's now down to 7 million from almost 40 million at the time. That's a tremendous achievement. It's a tremendous achievement for the entire staff in doing that. And we should acknowledge that and thank them most sincerely for that. I think, Richard, you deserve great praise. The second thing I want to say is that John McLaughlin is our new Chief Executive Officer. I'm long enough on the council to have served under many CEOs. And we were very pleased in Donegal when eventually we got the Donegal man to take over as CEO of the council. And again, the previous CEO before John was a Donegal man. And now John is here as the CEO of Donegal man. I don't think we're giving him a great chance if we're going to put funding coming to John in his first year of CEO. It didn't happen in anywhere else any other year. I think it's terrible to have to ask him to start under those circumstances. And I trust that the council will not do that. A lot of things have been said by different people, and some of them are very economical with the truth. I'm not going into that. But this money will give us access to the equalisation fund. I don't know how we would fare if we decided not to go down this road. Would we get 16 million equalisation fund? And there's only one thing that will happen if we don't, is services will have to be cut. Those who vote against this, or are voting for service cuts for whatever reason. And I don't think the people of Donegal would thank us for doing that. We have now major projects coming into the county, which are going to be of tremendous benefit. But we do know that £40 million will have to be found to match funding for those projects. And we do know that we were going to have to look for loans for that. And we will be on our loan. I have no doubt Richard will be going up next year, our loans. But look at the amount of money we're getting. Never, ever before in the history of this county have we been promised so much money and designated so much money. We're all over the county, from Mallinhead, Arndona, Ringcastle, Moncana, Fort Dunree, our greenways. And of course, we have to remember our existing council services. Then out of my own area, going to Killybegs, Spillabafay, Letterkenny, down the west, Port, you name it. If we're not able to raise funding, match funding for those projects, they will not go ahead. And those who are voting against us will ensure that they will not go ahead. That's the simple facts. There is no halfway measures here. We either put up or shut up. We either support our people. We either support our tourism, our jobs, and all of the other services that this council have provided. Surely we can criticise them from day to day about maybe our own local area we're not getting our share, and I do that in relation to roads and other things. But nevertheless, we have a staff who are dedicated to their work, have been dedicated to their work, and will continue to be dedicated to their work, provided we step up to the mark. And you know, some of the reasons we're not have been suggested we won't step up, just don't stand up. Our county needs us, and our people needs us, and our people expect us, because they would stand up in the morning. And Donegal people never found wanting. And if you get 170 million coming into this county for projects, and Donegal County Council says no, don't think it makes sense. And I don't think the people would appreciate us for us. I believe that we have to support this as we've done in the past. And I believe we have to support Richard and his staff, and most particularly, I believe we have to support our new CEO. Start him off the same way as previous CEOs were started off, by a council that's fully behind him. And I dread to think what will be going through his head if we don't do it. And I dread to think of those who are advocating that we don't support him and support this council would have to say for themselves if he decided that he wasn't wanted. Because that's what it's down to. It's down to supporting the man at the helm and the staff below. And if we don't do that, then I don't think any citizen in Donegal, many part of Donegal, will thank us for us. We all wear the jersey. And this is very important. This is the most important year we've ever had. The amount of projects that has been granted to Donegal County Council, the amount of projects that we will be asked to support, and at the first hurdle, there are people even talking about not doing that. I think it's incredible. Is this the way you support your county? By not supporting your council or your council officials? None of these projects came to Donegal without a lot of lobbying, a lot of work from the council officials, a lot of work from our TDs, all parties. Now it's up to us to stand up and support them and support our CEO in his first year of office. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Bernard.
Chairman, I wish to raise a point of order, a very important point of order about the legislation in Micah, and it's very important for the executive.
It can only be the procedure of this
No,
meeting.
first of all, the point. I'm raising a point of order, Chair. I'm raising a point of order. You can either rule it when I make the point of order. You can either rule it out of order or in order.
I'm going to let anybody in after the executive come in, but I can't let people in a second time. I've been very lenient with time
first,
every single
Chair,
speaker
just
today.
let me make this point before you make a ruling. Let me make this point.
I'm going to have to move on. I've got Councillor Nicholas Crossan and Councillor Paul Conaghan been waiting to speak, and I think it's only fair that every councillor gets to have their say here.
Chairman, first of all, let me make this point.
Thanks,
Chairman,
Chair.
can I please make this
And
point?
I'd just like to thank you, Chair.
Can I make this point, Chairman?
Baptism of fire for you, but as you well know, that we all read this particular document and signed for it. It's called the Code of Conduct of Councillors, and on one of that there is respect shown to your fellow members and the executive, and I think that was going to overlook a wee bit today, and I think it should be adhered to a bit stronger in the future to come. But just to say what regarding the LPT, that Donegal is the biggest net benefactor in the whole of Ireland, getting back 60.9 million was paid. And I'm without fear of reiterating what all our councillors have said, I just want to go through what the people and then is shown alone stands to gain. Now, I've heard said that the 1.67 million is not going to cure all. It's not, but it's going to make it a lot easier on business people. And it's going to be a lot easier on council trying to get funding through in this county. Carndonna is getting subsidised to 1.3 million on a 9.5 million project. Greencastle is getting subsidised 2 million from Donegal County Council on 11.9 million project. Fort Dunree is getting subsidised 3 million from Donegal County Council on a 12 million project. Donegal Hub Centre, which is 1.1 subsidies on 3 million investment. The Greenway has got 1.3 million on an 18 million project. The Shorefront and Shore Greens in Buncrana, which we're crying out for, has to get subsidised. And the big one, week in, week out, day in, day out, and month in and month out, and year in and year out, that I have been listening to, is Buncrana Leisure Centre. 3.8 million is promised through our funding on a 7.7 million project coming from Donegal County Council. And I agree 100% what Bernard McGuinness was saying, that the people of Donegal, and certainly the people of Donegal, and in my case the people of Buncrana, well, certainly, what were you thinking about? I know it's another tax, but I know people that live in Derry City and Strabane who will be loving to pay the same property tax as we pay here. Or they get their bins lifted and their medical. Go you in and ask about the medical care in Northern Ireland at the present minute in time. And I'm not saying it's another tax, but let me tell you, local government is about local people. And if we want the service, if we want our fire brigade on call 24 hours a day, if we want our library services, if we want our shore greens maintained, if all the services Donegal County Council, we have to vote for it. I can't understand, and I'm not saying that it's easy. I'm going to pay my property tax. The people in Micah, and I'm delighted for the first year that they will not be paying property tax, and I'm delighted on that. But unfortunately, I sit as an independent, and it would be very, very simple for me to sit back and say, not to touch, nothing to do with me, I don't care about it. But I'm progressive. I will stand up and be counted as I have done every other year. And I will stand up and be counted. And I will support John McLaughlin as Chief Executive Officer of Donegal County Council and his Director of Services and all the staff in Donegal County Council, because I think they're doing a very good job.
But if we want local democracy, and if we want local government, and we want these projects to go forward, we must take the initiative. We take the bold step. We'll listen to it. Yes, when we go out, you increase the property tax. We're maintaining it what it was last year. It's for 51% of the people, it's €1 a month. €1 a month. As I said 4 years ago, when it wasn't increased, it was like it's the price of a packet of cigarettes for a year. Not everybody smokes. It's the price of 2 gin and tonics. Not everybody drinks. But that is the futile difference on it for 51% of the people of Donegal. I, for one, and I'm glad of the support I'm here today, I'm for one, will stand up and be counted. I will stand up and take my beating down the town that you increase the property tax, Crossan. What do you think about it? I'm paying it myself. I know I'm voting. This is a turkey voting for Christmas. But I'm glad because we have so many projects. I've never ever seen anything like it coming into Donegal. And people out there have to learn that this money doesn't grow in trees. And for anybody to think that the only way that local government is going to be funded is from central government is off the rocker. Because if all the money goes into central government, then we're going up with the begging cap. We're given a responsibility to raise some money down in Donegal, which is going to stay in Donegal, and get the biggest 16.6 million. I think Galway County Council got 380,000 last year in the equalisation fund. Galway County, we're getting 16.9 million. And I say, wouldn't we be sweet to saying that we're going to cut our property tax and the people in Dunleary who are paying thousands, and a lot of people in Dunleary have lost their jobs as well, and I'm very, very acutely aware of that. But they're paying thousands for their property tax. And we're still there. But I think that this is a day to stand up. This is a day to be counted. And this is a day to show support for not only our executive, but the members of Donegal County Council. And here, look, it was a baptism of fire that you got into this morning. I don't envy your task one little bit, but I'll try and support you the best I can. I will be robust. I love good debate, but I'll tell you one thing. I would like to reiterate what Captain Malloy said and a few others. I have nothing to hide, and I am transparent, and I will not have an accusation thrown against me. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Cllr Crossan. I intended to break for lunch at 1:30. If Paul Canning and Rena Donaghy here, if both those are the last two speakers, I'll take them, then break for lunch, and we'll come back in the executive, come respond when any queries and want to come back after that then. So, Cllr Paul Canning.
Thanks, Chair. And keep up the good work. It's not easy for you. First of all, I would like to reiterate the previous couple of speakers in relation to where we're at. We have 170 million coming into this county. It was 170 million. And as Councillor Brogan says, we took a leap of faith a few years back. And we're in the journey. The journey has got difficult this last few years, but we have to continue on the journey. We're going in the right direction. We need people at a national level to show confidence and say Donegal is the place to be. At the minute we're at the low end, but we have to pick up the pieces and make the moves and build this county back up to where it should be. And the way we're going to do that is these projects. The projects in Cairndon and the projects in Dunleary, the project in Buncrana, Letterkenny, Eastern Order, across the full county, we have a serious investment. But we have to do our bit of lifting. And again, as the previous speakers, anyone with MICA doesn't have to pay. Anybody in a social house doesn't have to pay. You know, where I live on the border. Of Derry to Strabane, the average price in there is €1,000 per house. You take Councillor Crossan said about all the bans have been up. Even at a tenner a week with your ban is still 500. We're still way below. And Derry is progressing simply because there's a wee bit of heavy lifting being done. So I think it's a no-brainer. Now I would ask the same as what Councillor McGowan asked, that we do have a decision to make, and if we are making the decision, let us know what projects is going to lose out. just say if we don't vote it down, tell us the projects that's going to lose out. Is it going to be Buncrana Leisure Centre? Is it going to be Fort Dunree? Is it going to be Carndona? Is it going to be in Balbuffet? Is it going to be in Letterkenny? Let us know what the story is with all them. But I think for the sake of it, we've started, we've made a promise. We have to continue with our 5-year project. And in fairness to the government, they are showing confidence in us. We are getting well and truly above our fair share of funding. So let's stick to our side of the bargain. Thank you, Chair, for letting me on.
Thank you. As I can, and then Cllr Donaghy just before, and we'll break after that there. So Cllr Donaghy.
Thanks very much, Cllr. Thank you. And I just want to congratulate Richard and the team on the presentation today. It was an excellent presentation. It was colour-coded and it was in a very digestible form for us to all understand. And I just want to say that we have a very difficult decision to make, but when you're a councillor, you will definitely have difficult decisions to make. It's never easy, but we have to think of the county and we have to think of the people in the county and what is best for the people in the county and what they would want going forward. And I want to congratulate Richard and acknowledge the difficult job that you have had over the past year, you and your team, and how you steered that ship on very, very rough waters. Your support to the businesses, the restart grants, the waiver of the commercial rates, etc., etc. I believe everything that you did was done in a very, very positive way. And any council that spends €1 million, not per month, not per fortnight, but not every week, but every day. I mean, it's unheard of, the amount of great work during the COVID, during the pandemic, and during the mega crisis, which we have. Every service continued within Donegal County Council. None of the services were interrupted. And you and the senior management have to be thanked and congratulated for the way that you, as I say, steered that ship. We saw what we had in staycation last year. It was so good for Donegal. So we need funding to ensure that the infrastructure is in place to encourage and attract more visitors to come here and to spend money to help the businesses and to help the hospitality sector. And I know it's coming up to lunchtime and I don't want to spend too much time, but we did say 172 million come into this county. It's absolutely unprecedented. And 45 million we're looking for in return. And I, for one, definitely want the digital hub to go forward in Buncrana. And that's 3 million. And the leisure centre in Buncrana, we have been fighting tooth and nail to get that up and going. And we definitely don't want to hear somebody saying that no, it won't go ahead in the next few years. That's 7.7 million. We have Swan Park that the work has just started on now again. And we have Fort Dunree, 12 million. I'm a member of Fort Dunree board. And we have been looking for this money for over 25 years. And we just can't believe that every penny that we asked for this year was delivered. It's just unbelievable. And we certainly want that to progress. The shorefront, we're about to put an application in for a regeneration project for the shorefront in Buncrana, where we can have a whole redevelopment and new toilets and do work right out until the edge point. And as I say, the Cairn project, the Greenway project, 18 million. Greencastle, we've been fighting tooth and nail for Greencastle for the last 10 years and never got a penny. And now we've got the 12 million, and just last week we got another 1.4 million. Councillor Martin Farn would be very aware of all this because he lives there and the heart of it. So that's for the training school. So all of this local property tax, while it's not nice to have to increase it, we have to do what is right and what the people would want. So I just want to fully support the senior management team of Donegal County Council. I believe they have the most difficult of jobs and the difficult of times. It's not easy in any time to be a manager or a director of a county, or indeed a councillor. But they have the most difficult of jobs and are doing an excellent job. So thank you, Chair, for letting me in. Thank you.
Thank you. Cllr Tom Conaghan isn't on my screen, but it's been indicated to me he just wants that 4 minutes. Tom's only very brief, so no problem letting Tom in, and then we'll break for lunch.
Thank you, Chair. Can you hear me?
I can, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Chair. I just want to come on to make a point about the fact that more fingers could be pointed as far as I was concerned. I proposed it the last time, and I have no regrets on it. The other thing is that I would partly apologise for the behaviour that was going on this morning. I never saw anything like it in all my life, and I've sat in different meetings in Donegal and all over and all the rest, and it's unbelievable, you know, like, that this carry on will be starting in Donegal. Is it, in my opinion, to upset the council or to upset the people that are running the council properly and that are giving their time night and day for it? Because at the moment, neither you nor them deserve, but we don't mind a bit of banter and all the rest of it, you know, get over it, but personalities and different things coming into it. We're not going anywhere at that way going. And I would have to say, this past my second term in the council is, I have never seen things going better from the top to the bottom. And I mean, if we're going to have to sit here now, and you're quite aware of it, for 2 hours and 40 minutes, listening to what? Publicity for themselves, or looking for get this, get another thing. And I mean, they couldn't look at you straight in the face, you know, in my opinion. And it's time that everybody stood up and been counted, because we have a council and we don't need 4 or 5 or 6 councillors to bring it down. And I don't intend to see it being brought down, because Donegal is too much important to me. I know for a fact that Micah and different things will be sorted out, but they'll be sorted out properly. They'll not be sorted out with shouting and roaring and giving out about this one, that one, another one. The people that are being spoken to, would any of you people that are taking them on to task, would any of you people go and do what they're doing? Or would just be capable of doing it? Ask yourself that question. Because as far as Donegal is concerned, it's the greatest county maybe in Ireland at the moment. Why? Because we're pulling so well together, and everybody's working so hard to try and get to the top, and we're getting there gradually. So I can tell you one thing, boys, if there's any sand around, you put your head on it, because that's where it'll end up. Thank you very much, Chair.
Jack, folks, I said we're going for lunch. We'll go back. I'll let everybody in after the executive. We'll see if we just start going over and back. It'd be great to tomorrow morning. I'm going to call this meeting now to adjourn now for lunchtime. We'll come back, we'll get a response from the executive, and we'll open it up for comment.
Chairman. I wish to raise a point of order for the executive. Chairman, well, excuse me, who used that language? My arse. I mean, Nicholas Crossan just after saying my arse. I'm asking through the chair. A very important point of order for the executive for the reply. But the point of order, and you can rule it in or you can rule it out, Chairman, but you have to take my point of order. The point of order I wish to raise is concerning the legislation passed by the government. Chairman, please, without interruption, Chairman, I didn't interrupt anybody else. I didn't interrupt anybody else.
Right, I've muted everybody. There's some people talking over each other. I'm adjourning them. I want to come back. I'll come back at 2:15. The meeting's adjourned, folks.